All right. Hello, and thank you for coming. As a native of South Euclid, I have always found it fascinating to study the different aspects of the city that gives it a unique identity. Many cities have some aspect of it that gives them a unique identity. For example, New York with its diversity, New Orleans with its jazz scene, the steel industry in Pittsburgh, Hollywood in LA, etc. Let's see what symbols are representative of the South Euclid Lyndhurst area. South Euclid and Lyndhurst, Ohio are eastern suburbs of Cleveland. While the two cities are separate cities, they act as sister cities in how their school systems and other communal organizations are shared. Symbols of the city of South Euclid. Etymology of South Euclid. In 1797, Moses Cleveland named the area east of the Cuyahoga River Euclid after the Greek mathematician and patron saint of surveyors. Euclid Township was officially formed in 1809. In 1828, Euclid Township was divided into 9 districts, with South Euclid becoming District 2. The residents of Euclid Township simply called the area around the Mayfield Road and Green Road intersection South Euclid, and thus that specific name stuck and became the name of the city altogether. The English name Euclid is the anglicized version of an ancient Greek name with a similar sound. It is derived from an ancient Greek word that translates as renowned or glorious. The word Euclid less commonly also means a copy of the same thing, and it's sometimes synonymous with geometry. Flag of South Euclid. The red and blue flag has 8 small white stars on the bottom and a large star in the center of it with the seal of the city of South Euclid in the middle of that. The large 17th star recognizes Ohio as the 17th state in the Union. The South Euclid Lyndhurst Historical Society donated this flag to the Ohio Historical Society in 1991. And this is the resolution of the adoption of that flag. I'll leave it up for just a few moments and then we'll continue. All right, I am continuing. Seal of the city of South Euclid. In addition to the name of the city and year it was incorporated, the seal of the city of South Euclid depicts a man using surveying equipment looking over the polygonal border shape of the city of South Euclid that is currently the geographic layout of the city within the Northeast Ohio area. Since many of the Euro-American settlers were surveyors from Moses Cleveland's survey team, representations of the occupation of surveying were very symbolic for the area. Since Euclid was the father of geometry and related geometric patterns in analyzing them, the name Euclid was very applicable to this region. The former village of Bluestone. While very little of the village still exists today, there are still some place names in the area that reflect the existence of this extinct community. Some examples are the Bluestone Road and Quarry Park in South Euclid, the chimney that we were just discussing a little bit ago, which is at Quarry Park, and the Asa Katie House and the Schroeder House. Both of those homes are located in Cleveland Heights. This is approximately the borders of what the village of Bluestone looked like when it was a village overlaid onto the modern map of the area. New leaf logo of South Euclid. This logo was designed to help give South Euclid a more defined identity as being unique in relation to specifically to the city of Euclid. The logo was designed by Studio Graphic in Cleveland. Some of the designers were from the SEL area. The new logo that was chosen by the residents is designed in such a way that the word South is clearly seen before Euclid, so there is no confusion with the city of Euclid. It is written in a fresh-looking lowercase print. South Euclid War Memorial. Though the original War Memorial was closer to where Victory Park and Giant Eagle are today, the current War Memorial is located on Green Road and Anderson Road at that intersection, which is also very close to the Metro Parks. The dedication ceremony for the new War Memorial took place on July 4th, 1985. It had a parade with it, and the parade was so successful that the American Legion decided to recontinue parades for Memorial Day every year, as they had been discontinued in the 1970s. The current War Memorial was constructed with the courtesy of the Albert Grocery Company of Akron. The company moved the old memorial that was near Mayfield Road and Victory Road to its current location, and they funded many aspects of its construction. In exchange for these services, they were able to build a new supermarket at the Mayfield Road and Victory Road area, which at the time was an Acme supermarket, but now at the time of this presentation in 2023 is a Giant Eagle. The Telling Mansion. The Telling Mansion began its construction in 1928 and was home to the Telling family for many years. William Telling passed away in 1938, and the property was bought by the Cuyahoga County Library System. The building is a mix of English, Tudor, and French Normandy styles. The existence of the building itself is a very large symbol for the community of South Euclid as a whole, as it is one of the most important historic landmarks within the suburb. The South Euclid Police logo. An older logo of the police department consisted of an agrarian type scene in front of the dawning of a sun over a mountainside. And given the agricultural history of the Northeast Ohio area, it was very logical as why this symbol was used for many years. But the new logo is much more representative of strength and courage. The older agrarian one is also very similar to the one that Lyndhurst currently has. South Euclid Firefighters logo. The firefighters of South Euclid are officially known as the South Euclid Professional Firefighters Local 1065. Firefighters do more than just fight fires. South Euclid's firefighters provide emergency medical services, conduct fire and safety education, maintain and repair equipment, inspect fire hydrants and conduct fire safety inspections. And in relation to the fire education, they are happy to give presentations on fire safety to many communities within the group. Many groups within the communities, I'm sorry. The athletic name for Charles F. Brush High School. The name ARC is now unanimous for all the schools in the South Euclid School District. It has been that way since 2015. Before that, each school had its own separate name or for their own team moniker. Memorial was the Mustangs, Greenview were the Gators, Adrian Elementary were the Astros, etc. But this new name being applied unanimously throughout the district is very beneficial in helping to unite the identity of the whole district as one. Charles F. Brush was a native of the Euclid Township community in the 19th century, and he designed the arc light and other inventions related to electrical engineering. In addition to the arc electric lamp, the other single famous invention of this group was the wind dynamo. The current archy that exists for the mascot has more of a superhero style look to it. And that was only chosen, I think, in about 2013, about 10 years ago or so. And the superhero figure is a much more elaborate design than the former mascot, as the former mascot was more basically just it resembled a light bulb. These are the color patterns for the primary logos of Brush High School, and as you can see on the bottom, the secondary logos. I'll leave this up for a few moments, and then we will continue. Athletic names and symbols of Notre Dame College. Notre Dame College is the only college or university to be based in the South Euclid area. It should not be confused with the more well-known Notre Dame University in Indiana. Notre Dame was founded in 1922 as a women's college, and when Notre Dame established its intercollegiate program in 1988, the volleyball team chose the name Blue Falcons as the team moniker. In the year 2001, the college became co-ed. The name Blue Falcons was chosen and used basically because the falcon was seen as a very good icon for the traits of the athletic team at the school of fleetness and swiftness. Falcons are originally, by definition, female hawks, but recently the name has been expanded to other birds of prey. In 2001, the blue was dropped just for the name Falcons. And they felt that by dropping the name Blue and just having Falcons as it is would be a way to sound even more aggressive than Blue Falcons. And as you can see with the Falcon Cafe logo, the falcon is also used to represent other aspects of the college as well. The Falcon Cafe is located on the campus of Notre Dame College. The significance of the term Hillcrest in the South Euclid Lyndhurst area. For those of us who are familiar with the eastern suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, the term Hillcrest is a very common place name that we often hear. Well, its name suggests it originally came from a subdivision such as a city. It actually has no specific relation to defined urban geographic boundaries. Interestingly, it is initially the result of the history of the early telephone era, when different geographic locations were subdivided into different areas with specific given names, sort of like an area code. So after these divisions had dissipated, Hillcrest still retained its name, so the name is still present in the area, and in some ways helps give a sense of a community even beyond South Euclid and Lyndhurst to the small areas that are in other neighboring suburbs that partially overlap with the Hillcrest area. It was an anomaly for many years as to why this name was chosen for so many things, but I'm very glad I finally figured that out. Symbol of the Mayfield Country Club. The club is known for its world-class facilities and services. The club hosted the 1915 and 1919 Tennis Western Opens, the 1920s Women's Tennis National Championship, the 1927 Ohio Women's Tennis Championship, and the 1929 Women's Tennis Western Championship. The club also hosted the Davis Cup tennis semifinals between Australia and Denmark in 1921. Because of its deeply rooted history, the symbols for the country club depict the various athletic activities that the organization is well known for. The country club is also directly across the street from where the South Euclid Historical Society is, and thus many of us at the Historical Society are quite familiar with the specific area. Asteroid 20437 Seleucus 1999 JH1. For the past decade or so, I have attempted to get an asteroid named after our home area. In May 2019, I was successful. I worked with the Catalina Sky Survey out in Arizona, and I was able to coordinate the naming of an asteroid in the asteroid belt itself as Seleucus. The name Seleucus was one that I created by taking the abbreviations of the two cities, SEL, the state OH, and the country USA, all into one. When you put that together, it does kind of sound like a name for a celestial object, and by chance, it also has a sound to it that's reminiscent of Native American languages. So to describe a little bit more about what the different classifications are, the 20437 means that the asteroid is the 20,437th asteroid that has been cataloged in the astronomical catalog. The 1999 JH1 refers to the fact that it was discovered in the year 1999 in a subdivided range of the year 1999 that was classified as a J. And then right under that classification, there was a subclassification of an H range within the J range in 1999. The one just simply signifies that it was the very first object that was discovered within that range within that year. And one of the reasons the astronomer specifically chose that one is because the JH1, or at least JH, matches my initials. So in some ways, my own initials are part of the solar system. Symbols of the city of Lyndhurst. So the etymology of the name Lyndhurst actually has a very long and fascinating history. So first, the original name of the city of Lyndhurst was Euclidville. And when it was Euclidville, in the early 20th century, it existed alongside South Euclid and Euclid. And the Postal Service was starting to get very frustrated and confused by having so many similar named cities together next to each other. So in 1920, they held a contest to rename the city. A local student won the contest, and the city was named after Lyndhurst, New Jersey. Lyndhurst, New Jersey itself gets its name from John Singleton Copley, first Baron Lyndhurst, who is a British lawyer and politician that lived in the colonies around the American Revolution and eventually moved back to the UK. He himself received his name from a small village in the county of Hampshire in southern England. The name of the village was originally spelled as Lyndhurst, L-I-N-H-E-S-T. And when that is translated from Old English to modern English, it means lime trees on a wooded hill or lime trees growing on a wooded hill. The first mention of the name Lyndhurst came from the very important medieval manuscript known as the Domesday Book or Doomsday Book, which was a very important book in English history from the year 1086 AD. At this time as well, there was a man living in this area named Herbert the Forester. He owned land in what is today the village of Lyndhurst, and he might have been the ancestor to the Lyndhurst family. A little bit forward in time after him, there was a man in that same area named Herbert Lyndhurst, who also owned property in that area. But this is one of the most fascinating things I found in doing this presentation is the name of Lyndhurst means lime trees on a wooded hill or lime trees growing on a wooded hill. The SEL School Board. So as stated, Moses Cleveland arrived in what is today the Northeast Ohio area in 1796. It was called by the Euro-Americans at that time the Western Reserve in relation to being the Western Reserve of the state of Connecticut. It was able to be integrated into the expanding country of the United States via a treaty with the Iroquois tribe that was signed around that time. Euclid Township was founded in 1809. And when it was founded, it was further subdivided into 9 school districts, and Lyndhurst became District 4, while South Euclid was District 2. The earliest industry of the area was farming. As the area grew and became known as Euclidville Village, the name changed eventually to Lyndhurst in 1920 from the contest. Euclidville was formed from District 4 Euclid Township as a school district. It was designed when a new community was built in the area close to it. And at one point, they were thinking of dismantling many parts of it, but they had eventually decided to just redistrict those areas into a new school district. The building called the Little Red Schoolhouse is a famous building in the city of Lyndhurst and South Euclid, and is also a very well-known historical site. The schoolhouse now operates more as a museum of what education in the late 19th century was like, and provides reenactments of school classes from that time period. On the chalkboard in the school, the date November 1st, 1866 is written on the chalkboard, and is often the symbol itself that helps students feel like as if they were in the 19th century. The American flag in the school has only 36 stars, given that that's how many states that were there at that time. The schoolhouse closed in 1917 and then briefly reopened. Adjacent to it in 1921, the Little Red Schoolhouse was moved 100 yards to the south, closer to where it is today. And the Lyndhurst Village School was built in its place, which is currently where the school board exists. The building of the Little Red Schoolhouse was restored in 1976 by the South Euclid Lyndhurst Bicentennial Committee. The Lyndhurst Police Seal is one that, as I had previously mentioned, is a symbol that is based on the same sort of agrarian principles as the former South Euclid symbol. The symbol also at the very bottom on the very right is this related to the Lyndhurst Police Foundation, an organization that aims at helping young people in the community achieve great success in life. It should be noted that while the South Euclid Police Department had that similar logo, they again changed that, and now the two are much more distinct. The Lyndhurst Fire Department. The Lyndhurst Fire Department was formed in the early part of the 20th century as a volunteer fire department. Early records show that there were only about 100 calls per year at that time, and they usually involved fires at homes, fires with vehicles, or fires with flora and other parts of the landscape that might have been in an emergency. Currently, the fire department gets about 250 calls per year. The modern fire department has training in advanced paramedic care, as well as training for rescuers in special needs situations with specific types of emergencies. Legacy Village. Legacy Village is a very popular center with a variety of stores and activities that is located off Richmond Road. It is also very close to the border of South Euclid as well. The logo can be seen at many locations at this shopping center. There are very large signs at the entrances of the shopping center that include both the logo and the name and the location it is found in. On that property, it was once the home to the Charles and Frances Bolton House estate. The Bolton House. Mrs. Bolton was the first woman elected to Congress from Ohio. Mr. Bolton served for consecutive terms between 1929 and 1937. After he passed away in 1938, Mrs. Bolton succeeded him. Both of the couple were both members of the Republican Party. A few former buildings on the property can still be seen near Legacy Village. Francis Bolton's sister, Elizabeth Bingham Blossom, the wife of businessman and philanthropist Dudley S. Blossom, built a Tudor home on 22 acres next door to the current area where Legacy Village is. Both of these houses were part of an upscale community known as the Mayfield Country Estates. The buildings were built on what was then called the Franchester Farm. In 2001, the property was acquired by TRW and then eventually the military contractor Northrop Grumman Corporation. And eventually the building on the land was sold to the Cleveland Clinic as a location for events and other activities. And some of those events as well can be organized by people in the general public. It has had extensive use over the years, but given recent events in the past few years, some of that has slowed. The original American Basketball Association was an actual professional league that existed alongside the NBA for many years in the 1960s. So today, there has been a revival of that, and the Cleveland Blazers and Cleveland Blaze were one of the teams, were two teams in the men's league and the women's league that played in this expanded American Basketball League recently. The National Basketball Association, NBA, eventually had gotten 4 teams from the ABA, and it helped shape what the NBA is today. The Blazers were founded in 1999 and started playing in 2000, and the women's team started in 2017. The last time the teams played was just within the past 5 or 10 years, and to my knowledge, they're inactive now. But it will be interesting to see if they come back. But as you can see with their logos, they have a bee with flames behind it that not only have inverted colors of each other, but also have a male and female style to it of showing the different gender dichotomy of the same thing. The home court of the Cleveland Blaze and Blazers is a Hawkins School. So I always found that very interesting that there was a minor league basketball team at one point in the Lyndhurst area that many people were not aware of. The Julie Billiard School is a school network that serves children in grades K through 8 with special learning differences. They have campuses in Westlake, Akron, and Lyndhurst, and they offer a unique learning environment for children with autism, ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, and social learning differences. They are a Catholic school, but they also accept recognitions of other faiths. They are named after Saint Julie Billiard, who was born in France in 1751. She preached the Catholic faith in the area. When she was a young woman, thieves robbed her family store, and this traumatic event led her to eventually get paralysis in much of her body. She was still able to preach and teach her beliefs And even though as she was doing so, it was kind of dangerous because it was around the time of the French Revolution. In 1804, St. Julie Billiard founded the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur. The sisters cared for orphans and educated teachers. About 1 year later, after this occurred, Julie was miraculously cured of her paralysis. She continued to spread the faith and opened schools for girls of all economic levels. Her legacy continued even after she passed in 1816. In 1840, members of the Sisters of Notre Dame Coesfeld traveled to the US and eventually settled in the Cleveland, Ohio area, and they helped found the Julie Billiard schools. Hawkins School. Hawkins School has dozens of different athletic options for its students, and it has great representation in the area with the diversity of athletic activities it offers. And their name is very well known partially because of that, in addition to their excellent academic curriculum. In 2018, Hawkins achieved the status of being the first high school, or I should say was the #1 high school in Ohio for state championship titles, and had about 179 of them. There were athletes from Hawkins School that went to play in the NHL and the NFL, and a few coaches came from the school as well. One of their graduating students was actually in the Olympics in the summer of 1996 in Atlanta in a swimming competition and won a gold medal. And right before I finish up, I just would like to check something. Yes. The Lyndhurst emblem has a gazebo on it, and it is representative of being in the center location of the city in Lyndhurst Park near City Hall. In a way, the green coloration of the symbols that you see with Lyndhurst somewhat resemble the shades of color of the grass on the property of the City Hall in Lyndhurst. And even though the South Euclid flag is considered to be the flag of South Euclid and Lyndhurst still should be noted as having a very distinct community with its own symbols. Therefore, it makes sense as to why they would have a symbol of a person with their arms raised in happiness in the lower corner there for one of the community organizations, and also having a healthy green leaf as it shows the strength and vitality of the community. So I would like to end with these conclusions. The type of symbols that are displayed in the city of South Euclid and Lyndhurst are representative of the history of the two cities. The symbolism that is used in the area has many unique visual patterns and is representative of the diversity that exists within both communities. One of the few consistent themes with the symbols between the two cities is that many of them by chance have leaves as part of their visual representations. Some of the visual representations and other types of symbolism that is found within the South Euclid-Lyndhurst area sometimes is also representative of the larger, greater Northeast Ohio area as well. And the evolution and development of new symbols and logos in the area continues. And I would like to end this by asking what symbols and logos will represent the South Euclid area in the future. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing.
That was great.
Thank you.
Is Francis Bolton that you mentioned, is that the same person as Frances Payne Bolton from the nursing school?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And she, again, had a lot of prominent roles in the community. And she passed away in 1977 in Lyndhurst. But her husband was the state representative for Ohio for 4 consecutive terms. And then after he passed, she succeeded him and she became the first female Ohio representative in Congress.
I actually gave a talk on her. She was part of the Circles of the King's Daughters, and the circle she was in helped visiting nurses, and they do things like rolling bandages and stuff like that. Well, one of the nurses suggested that you'd actually learn much more about this if you actually come on some of the visits with us. And she did, carefully not telling her father she was doing this. He found out later and asked her why she didn't tell him. And she said, because I thought you wouldn't approve. And he said, yeah, that's probably right, but tell me all about it. Well, at any rate, she was out on these things, scrubbing floors and children, and very much got enamored of the nursing profession, and that's why she got involved in the nursing school. When her husband died, it was kind of the tradition to give the little lady the seat to finish out the term without distinction. That was not Frances's way. And of course, she was expected to not run for the office when the term expired, but she did and won. And so she was very much a independent person. But this is all a whole different story. But thank you very much, Jay.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions or comments?
Hi, Jay. This is Alice. That was excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm really surprised, though. You know that when I moved to South Euclid, whenever that was, you know, the house of irrepute on the hill was always a hot, kind of strange, mysterious, whatever. You may have already talked about it some other time, or maybe know something more about that, but that's always been this mysterious kind of thing about South Euclid, is that house.
I honestly am not as familiar with that specific house, but I think I should mention as well that these aren't the only symbols
Sure.
within South Euclid and Lyndhurst. These are just a handful of some of the prominent ones, but like you said, there are some other areas of the city that also are very representative of the culture.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, Jay, I found interesting, because I really didn't have much reason. I think when David was running for city council, whatever, I went, I guess I'm gone. I've been gone too long. Let me see. In front of the Telling Mansion, is that Sheridan, that street perpendicular right off of where the Telling Mansion is? And Mayfield, is that Sheridan?
Yes.
Something like that? Yeah.
Yes.
And the Mayfield Country Club runs off.
Yeah, when we went down there to Eleanor, whatever, I went to high school with her. She did a fundraiser for David.
Eleanor Hayes.
Yes,
I
all
live
the way
across the
down
street from her.
there. Oh, okay. And I'm telling you, those houses, I thought I was somewhere else. I didn't know that I was in the same, because I just lived in a little inexpensive on Marymount Road in the Loudon School District, my little old house, 2-story, little colonial. And when I went down that street, Jay, are you familiar with any of that area and down that street?
yes,
I
I've
guess I
been
should say
there.
it's the country club area.
Yeah, I have been down that way a few times. I've seen those houses, and honestly, I've had a similar feel of how just being on one street makes you feel like you're in a whole different community.
Yes,
but
yes.
you're literally just right across the street from everything else.
You
Yeah.
guys know
Us-
Cindy lives there?
Us
I'm sorry?
commoners, no, the commoners don't live on the country club side. People with the normal homes live on the other side. So you don't think I live in a mansion? I don't.
Well, that's okay if you do. I won't hold it against you, honey. Somebody got to live in them. It's okay. But does anybody know anything about those houses, or?
They're all unique. There's only 3 houses next to me that are exactly the same, and then 2 more down there are exactly the same, but every house on the street is different. It's really unusual.
Who lived in those houses, or lived? I mean, anybody any history on those big houses?
The one house that we call the Spanish house with the tile roof was, I don't know the man's name, but he supposedly invented the shock absorber. But the house I live in is older than any of the other houses. My house is Century Home, 1913. And I don't even think the country club's that old.
Wow.
That reminds me, one of the other things I should mention as well that interrelates to the history of the area is how the seal test symbol itself that was used by William Telling with his dairy business. And if we go back to one of those slides, you'll be able to see the seal test logo. So I always found that to be a kind of interesting intermixing of both local culture and greater American culture.
The House of Ill Repute had its own shield, by the way, that included women, wine, women, and song.
Oh.
Let's call it a nightclub.
Now why would Bob know so much about that
Okay.
house?
Well, it was a dinner club, but it
Oh, was it?
And apparently Perry Como got his first professional singing gigs there.
Oh, really? Okay. Huh.
He lived
Friends
in
of
South Euclid somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where, but I've heard that.
it's on Donwell.
Okay.
If you drive up Belvoir now with no trees on the leaves on the trees, you can see it quite well. It's kind of a stucco and dark wood frame. Friends of mine own it, and they've been in the process of restoring it for decades.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Wow. Huh. Very interesting.
I'm sorry, is that the street where that man and his girlfriend were murdered by the daughter? Or have I got the wrong place?
Don't know.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. I had a couple of comments. I personally don't care for having the A for arcs on all of the uniforms and this and that. You don't see Mayfield uniforms have a W for Wildcats, and And it should be a B for brush, like it was when I went there. That's one comment. The next one, I got a short story for you that I can't really verify, but my wife worked at Notre Dame College for a while. And at one time they had a president. I think she was brought in because she had connections and could raise money, and they were suffering financially at the time. And she was the daughter of the guy who owned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
Correct.
at that time. And well, apparently she wasn't very well liked, and she didn't, this president, I don't even remember her name, she didn't like the name Falcons, and she had a survey, wanted some alternatives. And so some students, being students, decided a good mascot would be the trees. That was not adopted. Oh, and Frances Payne Bolton and her husband are buried at Lakeview Cemetery, if you want to take a look.
Yeah, a very nondescript site.
Right.
I
Right.
had trouble finding it.
It is difficult to find. Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
It was really interesting, Jay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. Thank you.
I learned a lot.
Thank you.